What comes to mind when someone asks about the fastest growing sneaker brand on StockX in 2024? You're probably thinking Adidas, Under Armour, Puma, or maybe Jordans. But actually, none of those brands hold that spot right now. The real answer? Anta, a Chinese brand that's been making serious waves on the global stage. Yep, a Chinese brand has grown so influential that it's now competing in spaces once dominated by legacy sneaker giants. But how did they pull it off? How is this even possible when brands like Nike, Adidas, or Converse have ruled the game for decades? Are the heritage brands really just letting this happen? That's exactly what we're discussing today. Together, let's break down the impact these rising Chinese brands have had on the market. Stay tuned. To really understand how Chinese brands climb to the top in sales, we need to take a look at history. Look, Chinese brands have been around for like ever. But for the longest time, they were mostly copying trendy styles and selling them at lower prices. But things started shifting. Back in 2012, Li-Ning, one of China's top sneaker brands, signed former Miami Heat star Dwyane Wade after his contract with Jordan Brand ended. He, in collaboration with Li-Ning, made a few sneakers, and after that, he signed a lifetime contract with Li-Ning and called it Way of Wade. That move wasn't just big. It was a statement. It showed that Chinese sportswear was ready to step up on the global stage. Wade's signature sneaker line, the Way of Wade, became a massive hit, cementing Li-Ning's place in the market. Li-Ning's success paved the way for other Chinese brands like Anta and Peak to gain traction beyond China. Following in Li-Ning's footsteps, Anta went all in on collaborations, signing stars like Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Derrick Jones Jr., Daniel Gafford, and Karis LeVert, positioning itself as a serious player in the sneaker game. So yeah, both brands took full advantage of the NBA's massive influence in the West. And since basketball is just as huge in China, this created a perfect storm for fueling up the sneaker industry and strengthening the connection between the sport and these rising brands. But Chinese brands aren't just sticking to basketball. Recently, Li-Ning teamed up with American pro skater Eric Ellington to launch its first skateboarding line. And just like basketball, skate culture has been a breeding ground for some of the most creative and iconic sneaker designs. After all these smart strategies, Chinese brands have climbed to the top, where Anta now holds the third largest global market share, trailing only Nike and Adidas, and it's growing fast. Looking more at the numbers, it's recorded that in the first half of 2021, Anta pulled in 2.28 billion RMB, $2.6 billion, outpacing Adidas in China by 4.5 billion RMB, $500 million, and doubling Li-Ning's revenue. In 2023, Anta had also become the most popular running shoe brand on China's e-commerce giant Tmall, accounting for 16% of the platform's running footwear sales, beating both Nike and Adidas. Meanwhile, Fila and Anta, both under Anta Sports Products Limited, collectively made up around 13.8% of China's online sportswear market. At this rate, if Anta keeps up its momentum, it could soon surpass Adidas in market value. And that's how a new wave of competition in the sneaker industry has emerged from the East. Now that we've covered how Chinese brands rose to the top, let's dive into how they managed to take on the giants and hold their ground. You probably already know that brands like Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour manufacture a huge chunk of their sneakers in China. That alone proves one thing: China knows how to make sneakers people actually want. On top of that, to go toe-to-toe with legacy brands, Chinese sneaker companies have invested heavily in improving quality and developing new technology through research and innovation. Beyond quality and tech, Chinese brands also went all in on massive global marketing, collaborating with NBA stars, like I mentioned earlier. But that raises a question. Why would NBA players choose Chinese brands when they already had the backing of traditional sneaker giants? Take Dwyane Wade, for example. He left Jordan Brand at its peak to sign a lifetime deal with Li-Ning. But why? Well, the answer comes down to financial benefits for both sides. Think about it. China has a population of 1.4 billion, and the NBA plays a huge role in connecting cultures. When NBA players gain popularity in China, they open doors to an entirely new market, creating massive opportunities for both themselves and the brands they represent. For example, these partnerships give brands credibility and recognition, not just in the US, but worldwide. It benefits both parties. Take Klay Thompson, for instance. He's traveled to China multiple times, and every time he's met with massive crowds of fans. These visits don't just boost his personal brand, they also strengthen Anta's connection with its customers, making the brand even more influential. This proves how sports and business go hand in hand on a global scale. And it's exactly how Chinese brands are chipping away at the dominance of giants like Nike and Adidas. Which brings us to our final question. In the near future, will these Chinese brands take over the entire market, pushing heritage brands to the back? That's for you to decide. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like or just smash that subscribe button with your basketball, football, or whatever you've got lying around. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.